the did you allow type of questions. In other words, did you let the defendant babysit your children post-arrest? That would be a specific instance of good conduct, which I think would be inadmissible under 405. And would you allow? I believe that would be character evidence, which could be cross-examined by way of specific instances of conduct. However, guilt-assuming hypotheticals would be inadmissible. So that's about all the general guidance I think I can give. Because, and if you're looking for what I'm reading specifically, it's 405 Carlson, United States versus Guzman, 167, 1350. And it indicates that guilt-assuming hypotheticals strike at the very heart of the presumption of innocence. So that's where we are.
Just so I can make sure that we're all on the same page, if they start asking questions like that, which would be specific instances of good conduct, while we may not be able to ask it in a hypothetical, we can then confront them with specific acts of bad conduct. That seems to be what the statute allows for.
It's true so long as it's not hypothetical. And I guess what I'm concerned about is that your hypotheticals could potentially be guilt-assuming. And your specific instances of conduct relate to this case. That's the issue.
It is the issue. And I guess the reason why we are allowed to do that is essentially with the specific act, the specific instance of good conduct is a form of character evidence. Would it in that regard, we are allowed to confront them with specific acts of bad conduct to determine whether to test their knowledge. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
It's true. It really depends upon the phraseology of the question.
Right.
And so we're going to just have to work through it. But I think that we have a general understanding of the terrain. At least we're all on the same page.
Just while we're here, before the jury comes back in, I would just note for the record that some of the information that we appear to be getting from the witnesses, it does appear to be starting to get very cumulative. To that extent, we would object to any witnesses that are going to testify about the same things. They didn't have injuries at Noah's Ark. They didn't have injuries at the Fall Festival. They didn't have injuries at the trunk or treat. I think that at this point, that point has been made. The state has not said anything different. And I would point the court to Goggins versus the state, 330 Georgia Appeals 350, 2014 case, and it's relating to character evidence. But in as much as the court is allowed, once the character evidence doesn't, or once the evidence appears to be getting cumulative, taken as a whole, the court can restrict the further presentation of evidence that just appears to be reiterating the same thing.
Pointing in the fact that at the Fall Festival, Peggy brought in the fact that this child was bruised on half of her face, put in a picture to suggest that the picture shows a bruise on half of the face. So it's important for us to be able to show that nobody saw any bruises on the face at that Fall Festival. The state raised it, and I think we got the right to rebut it.
Okay, thank you. I'll allow that technical witness. Let's bring the jury back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay, but I can assure you that we've been working, and so we're ready to begin again. Please call your next witness.
Just for that, McDaniel is still on the stand.
All right, let's have her continue. still under oath. Go ahead and have a seat, please. And Ms. Small will continue her examination. Okay, we have no calls.
For Ms. McDaniel.
Good morning.
I want to start, you said one of the last times you saw the girls were on November the 14th.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was at the Rosenbaum's house or somewhere else?
That was at their house.
And it was a birthday celebration for Jennifer Rosenbaum?
It was just me visiting for her birthday because I was in nursing school and working full time, so I couldn't do it during the week.
And how long did you stay at their house that day?
About an hour.
About an hour? Okay. And where were the girls at that time?
Just in the living room. We were watching TV, just sitting down talking.
And you said the time prior to that was on November the 11th?
Yes, ma'am.
And you guys were at Olive Garden?
Yes, ma'am.
And Layla wasn't feeling well?
No, ma'am, she was not.
Let me ask you, when you visited her on November the 14th, did she tell you about Layla going to the hospital on November the 12th from not feeling well?
No, ma'am.
Did she tell you anything about having to take her there and have to get her on the nebulizer?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She made no mention of having to take this child to the doctor?
No, ma'am. I did most of the talking.
You did most of the talking, okay. And you said you would see these children often?
Yes, ma'am. Once every other week. Like I said, I was really busy.
Okay. And on the 14th, did Layla appear to be feeling better?
Yeah, for the most part.
Was she up and running around?
Mm-hmm.
And when you would be in the home with them, would you describe the kids as being, I guess, rough and tumble and rambunctious?
I mean, normal kids. They were girls. So, I mean, I have a girl and a boy, and my boy is by far more rambunctious than my girls. But they were normal little girls. They were.
So none of the rough and tumble or playing around resulted in any serious injury from what you observed?
No, ma'am.
No broken bones or anything of that nature?
No, ma'am.
And then you said in October of 2015, that first week of October, the girls stayed with yourself and your mom.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, you were rolling around on the floor, playing, no issues or concerns at that time.
No, ma'am. We were just watching Frozen, their favorite movie, playing on the floor.
And that would have been about 6 weeks prior to Layla's death.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, Layla's leg wasn't even broken, right?
No.
So she was no issues to your knowledge.
No, ma'am.
And at some point, you learned that Layla broke her leg.
Yes.
How did you learn about her breaking her leg?
Jen told me that she fell during a gymnastics class.
Prior to hearing that she had broken her leg, did you know anything about Layla being in gymnastics?
I did.
Okay. How did you know she was in gymnastics?
The girls would tell me, and Millie showed me her little bodysuit type deal.
Did you see Layla's bodysuit type thing, dude?
No.
She didn't have any leotards?
If she did, I didn't know. I know she was doing just the basic class.
So your understanding, and I guess, is that coming from Millie or Jennifer as to your understanding about Layla in gymnastics class?
Well, Jen told me that she was in gymnastics, but Millie showed me her leotard one-piece thing.
And I just want to be real clear, Jennifer told you that both girls were taking classes.
Well, she told me that Millie was taking classes and Layla was doing the little, I guess it's an introductory type deal. My girls aren't into that stuff, so.
And did she tell you that immediately after Layla broke her leg that she took her to the hospital?
We didn't really talk about her. She just told me that she had broke her leg and she had a pink cast on. She showed me her little cast.
Did she ever mention that she had fallen in a hole prior to gymnastics?
No.
Did you ever see the girls after they came back from visits with Peggy Banks?
No.
So during the time that you would see these girls once a week, they never had a visit with their great-grandmother, Peggy Banks?
They could have. I don't know Peggy at all. I wasn't at the birthday parties that I know she was at. I've never met the woman. I wouldn't know her if she was sitting in the audience.
But you would see them once a week from time to time when they were with the Rosenbaums?
Yes, ma'am. About once every other week.
And you never saw any bruises or injuries on them that caused you concern?
No, ma'am.
Even if they'd had a visit with their great-grandmother?
Yeah.
And then let me ask you, you said, did you know about the girls' daycare, where they attended daycare?
No.
Did you know they were in daycare?
No, ma'am.
That was never discussed by the defendants with you about them being in daycare?
No.
Do you know who was keeping the children? Because I know you were busy. You weren't watching them during the day.
No.
Was your mother watching them?
Probably. I have no idea.
Was your understanding that Jennifer and Joseph were watching them and taking care of them?
Yeah, I know that they had applied for daycare through the state and were denied. So I know daycare is expensive. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was watching them because I believe he was working at night at that time. So he would get off and come home, nap, and watch the girls.
And during the time that you were taking care of Layla, she was potty trained, right? She was getting potty trained.
She was pretty good at it. She had an accident every now and then, but she was good at it.
During that week that you were watching the girls, was she wearing panties or pull-ups?
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups. What type of pull-ups did she have?
I don't know.
Did they give you, when I say they, did the defendants give you any specific type of pull-ups that she needed to wear?
Yeah, Jen packed her bags, and I mean, she had outfits labeled for every single day.
Did she ever give you any, let me ask you, did you ever see a diaper rash on Layla during the time that she was with you guys?
Not that I recall.
So no concerns about anything that you were doing as far as her hygiene and care for her diapers?
No.
And you weren't given any special instructions about what to use on her during the time that she was with you?
No.
And you said you had 3 kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Potty training is difficult, isn't it?
It is.
It's frustrating. They don't always do what they need to do when they need to do it, where they need to do it, right?
Yeah, I got lucky.
Lucky you. But that's not always the case, right?
No, it's not.
How was Layla doing with potty training when you guys were with her? Because you said she had an accident, right?
She did have an accident, and I cleaned her up, and Jen told me to put her on the potty for about 5 to 10 minutes, make sure she was finished, and make sure that, she would wipe properly since she was a little girl.
During the time that the girls were with you guys, you said the South Dakota trip.
Yes.
So you never received a ticket from Jennifer or Joseph to fly out to South Dakota to go to your father's wedding?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I couldn't afford that. I'm sorry.
And the girls never rode in a car to go out to South Dakota to go to this wedding?
No.
To your knowledge, only Jennifer and Joseph went on the South Dakota trip?
Yes.
Now let me ask you, the girls stayed with you and your mom during that week. Did you have to have DFACs come in order to, evaluate your home or get permission for the girls to stay with you during that week?
No.
Did you talk with anyone about the girls staying with you during that week?
No.
Do you know if the defendants had any conversation with the caseworker about the girls staying with you during that week while they were gone?
I don't know of anything, no.
So you never had any contact with their caseworker, Samantha White?
No.
Or anyone from DFACs?
No, ma'am.
And I think you said in September, you had seen the girls and there were no bruises or injuries on them at all?
Right.
So to your knowledge, you've never seen any bruises or injuries or anything concerning on these children during the time that you observed?
No.
And I think you said that you only rode in the car with them, well actually you rode in the car with them one time during Halloween.
Yeah, we just drove around the neighborhood, and we weren't even in the car. We were in the back of the truck, and Layla was up front with my husband and mom.
And Ms. Mull asked you about whether or not you had ever seen Jennifer or Joseph spank the girls.
Yeah, she did.
And you never seen them spank the girls.
Nope,
But you didn't live with them, right?
I did not.
You weren't there 24/7.
I was not.
So you can't say what happened when you were not in the home.
That's correct.
And as far as going to sleep in a car, would it be unusual for a parent to spank a child for going to sleep in a car?
It would.
That's not something you would expect to happen if a child went to sleep.
No.
Nothing.
Anything else?
You said, told Ms. Young that you didn't know Peggy Banks at all.
I don't.
So you don't know when the child went to Peggy Banks or not.
No, ma'am.
And you don't know whether she came back from Peggy Banks with injuries or not.
I have no idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You can sit.
Thank you.
Is he excused?
Yes.
All right. You're free to go. Thanks for calling. Next witness.
Ashlynn Kincaid.
Councilor Rosenbaum, wait. Ma'am, just make your way right through that front gate and then walk all the way over here in front of the jury. Make your way into the jury, into the witness office. Welcome. Raise your right hand, please.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
If you have a seat.
Sorry.
Would you state your name and spell it for me?
Ashlynn Kincaid, ASHLYNN, KINCAID.
Miss Kincaid, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
I met her through my parents. She babysat me, took me to gymnastics. I did pageants with her, so I've known her for a while.
Since what age have you known?
Since I was about 8.
And tell us, if you would, did I hear you say she took you to gymnastics?
Yes.
And did you go to gym tech?
No, I went to World Extreme.
World Extreme?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went to gymnastics, were you allowed to get on the equipment without being in a class?
Objection, relevant.
Response?
I have nothing further.
All right. Anything from this witness? Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. Thanks. We'll call the next witness. Kim Smith. Kim Smith. Kim Smith. Right up here, please, ma'am. Can you go that way, please? All right. If you would just raise your right hand, Ms. Mogle, swear you with.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Please have a seat and just state your name and spell it for me.
Kim Smith, KIMSMITH.
Miss Smith, who is your sister?
Peggy Banks.
And what do you do for a living?
I work in the accounting department of an IT company.
Did you, what is your relationship to Layla Daniel and Millie Place?
I am their great aunt.
Did you, do you recall a time when Layla passed away?
Yes, ma'am.
And on or near that date, did you have occasion to give a statement to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you tell the police?
I gave a statement to the police the morning after she died. We met at the police station, and I gave a statement that I thought that what we were told by Jennifer was the truth.
Okay, let me show you, let me ask you this. I'm going to mark this as 139 and ask you if you can if you can identify it. What is that statement? What is that?
That's the statement I gave the day after she died.
Where in that statement does it say anything about believing Jennifer Rosenbaum?
It doesn't say that I believed her. It said I've been around them on several occasions and felt nothing was amiss. I also said I sincerely don't think Jennifer or Joseph are to blame. I think they loved the girls and saw no evidence of abuse or neglect.
So there's nothing in there about believing Jennifer, is there?
No.
And in fact, this was done on November 18th, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, you also, did you give that statement to Detective Witt?
I think it was him. I don't recall.
Do you recall talking to Detective Witt?
I don't recall who it was.
Do you recall having a conversation with a detective?
Yeah. Yes.
And do you recall telling that detective that the girl's present situation and living arrangements have...
Sustained.
What did you tell the detective about the girl's present living situation?
That I thought it was good.
And that you were referring to the Rosenbaum?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was a question. And your objection is what, leading?
Yes, Judge.
Oh. Please don't lead the witness.
Now, there came a time where you went down to headquarters to give another statement, correct?
I think so. Yes.
And that was after November 18th, 2015.
Yes. I'm not sure of the date.
Would December 12th ring any bells for you?
That sounds about right.
And you told the detectives a different story.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you tell them?
After some retrospect, I started seeing some red flags that I had missed. I believe I had spoken with Detective Thompson that day. I had recalled some instances from the October 17th birthday party at Noah's Ark. I told him that I felt like Millie's behavior was strange that day. She wasn't acting like herself. I also told him that Layla, too, was not acting like herself. Although I hadn't been around Layla as much as Millie, excuse me. Just some different things that were just odd that I felt like he should know about.
Had you seen any bruises on Millie or Layla at the fall festival, at the birthday party?
After I had seen the pictures,
No, I'm asking you, what did you see at the fall festival?
I saw them in their costumes. I did pick up Layla and noticed that she had lost weight and felt lighter.
Did you notice any bruises on her face or body?
No.
Now, you have had conversations with Jennifer by Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have told her, what have you told Jennifer on Facebook?
I don't recall specifically.
Do you recall anything that you said on Facebook?
Maybe that I was glad that the girls were with her. That, you know, it was a welcome answered prayer that they were with her and Joseph.
What did you tell her about how Peggy treated the girls? Really?
I don't recall.
I may have a little- Let me show you, see if this refreshes your recollection about some of the conversations that you had with Jennifer.
I don't see anything on here about the way my sister treated Millie.
Okay, let me ask you another question. You said you didn't remember the conversations. Did you have any conversations with them about how you found Millie and Layla to be?
While they were with the Rosenbaums? According to this, that they were fine, that they seemed to have a sense of peace when they were with them.
And what is the date of that statement, do you know?
Looks like it's beginning of September.
Of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember talking to Jennifer and talking about how the girls looked and acted
At a particular time?
at a particular time in October of 2015?
On a specific date, I don't remember, did I see, was it at the birthday party?
October 17th, 2015.
I told her that I thought the kids looked good, great, but I was referencing their costumes. I think that I said they were acting fine.
Would it help refresh your recollection to see the
Sure.
actual?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I told her that I was happy to meet Joseph that day. I said the girls looked and were acting amazing, so glad they are with you. And that was referring to the October 17th birthday party at Noah's Ark.
Recall my asking you a question about what you said about Peggy, correct? You said you don't remember saying anything about Peggy.
About how she treated the girls, or
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
Right.
Would it help you to take a look at some documents?
Sure.
These things one at a time. Take a look at that and see if that refreshes your recollection.
I said on here that she says things that are inappropriate to say in front of a child.
Okay, what else did you say in there?
Basically, that I've told, that I've mentioned to her that she shouldn't do that. I tell her a lot not to say certain things to the girls. Basically, it's the way she's always been. And
What else did you say?
on the bottom, she said some stuff to the girls, but then denied it.
So, you told Jennifer that Peggy Banks told some stuff to the girls and then denied having told it.
Yes, said she didn't remember saying it, or she had a senior moment, or she didn't remember saying it.
And say about how that was affecting you?
She's shown her documents, first of all, and I'm asking whether or not she can recall. I think it would be more appropriate to determine whether or not she can recall before showing the document.
I agree.
Can you recall what it is that you said in Facebook posts to Jennifer about how this situation with Millie and your sister was having an effect on you?
It's very stressful. I mean, I was living with my grown sister, and it was a very small house, and with a 5-year-old that needed to be playing outside, and she couldn't because we were trying to hide her from the HOA at that time. So it was very stressful for me.
What did you tell Jennifer in September of 2015 about the girls?
I don't know what you're referring
See,
to.
this refreshes your recollection.
I said, "You're the best thing that has happened to the girls."
Let's see if this further refreshes your recollection.
I'm so glad they're with you. And I agree, sometimes she plays favorites.
Who plays favorites?
Peggy.
And what do you mean by that, she plays favorites?
Then she's just more closer to Millie, and she wants to spend more time with Millie. Looking at it, you can say she plays favorites. Sometimes I thought she could have gotten Layla more often, but again, she couldn't take care of two. And I see that she couldn't have taken care of a toddler unless I was there to help her change the diaper. So when she would get Layla, I would be there so that I could help.
Thank you. What was the atmosphere in the house with you, Millie, and Peggy?
It was fine.
Do you recall saying otherwise?
I might have if I was frustrated or anxious.
Would it help you if I showed you a document to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
See if this refreshes your recollection about the atmosphere in the house with Peggy and Millie.
I said when Millie lived with us, the relationship was unhealthy. Peggy would scream and yell a lot. She would say things to Millie like, "How could you be so stupid?" Just unhealthy and non-affirming language, which is how she has raised her own children.
When Jennifer suggested to you that Millie was gone, is it true that Peggy used to swat her with a fly swat?
Objection,
Stay.
Did Peggy hit her with a fly swatter?
She would swat at her. More so, she would pick up the fly swatter and the behavior would stop.
Do you recall saying otherwise?
I think Jennifer in that paper there said that Peggy told Jennifer that she had spanked her with a fly swatter, and I agreed. But my sister's not very mobile, so she wasn't going to chase her down and hit her with a fly swatter. She would swat at her, but she always missed.
What did you say in this statement, in this Facebook post? What did you tell Jennifer about whether or not Peggy spanked her with a fly swatter?
I said yes, she did.
You didn't say swat at.
No. With all due respect, Miss Mall,
1 second, please. Ma'am. Is this a response to the question? The question was what she said in the Facebook post, right? Just ask your next question. You can't speak unless you have a response to a question.
okay, yes, sir.
What did you tell Detective Thompson about seeing whether or not you saw the children in pain or physical discomfort?
I don't recall.
You don't recall telling Detective Thompson anything about whether you ever saw the children in pain or in physical discomfort?
I don't recall exactly what I said. Do you have something that would refresh my memory?
I do. See if this refreshes your recollection.
I noted in here about Layla's broken leg. I mean, that's what you have highlighted as far as me noticing that she was in distress.
Is that the only thing the only pain and discomfort you ever saw the children in was the broken leg?
I think she was I think I noted on here that I thought Layla was in distress at the birthday party, meaning that, I had only seen Layla probably 4 or 5 times. And when I was holding her, and then giving her back to Joseph, she was clinging to me and not wanting to go back to Joseph, which I thought at first, she really loves her Aunt Kimmy. She's getting to know me, which made me happy. But I could see there was just distraught in her face. So when Joseph took her, I had a friend of mine with me that she had never met. And as soon as she was in Joseph's arms, she flung herself into the arms of my friend.
So, did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Did you call DFACS to report this flinging behavior of the child?
No, ma'am.
Are you aware that she there's been testimony that she's followed him around wherever he goes. Are you here?
Sustain the objection. Please rephrase.
No, I'm not aware of any previous testimony.
Did you know whether or not she was known to follow him around?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Young.
Ms. Smith, so it would be fair to say, initially you felt the girls were in good hands.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard the phrase hindsight is 20/20?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had hindsight now in regards to the Rosenbaum?
Yes, ma'am.
So the opinions that you expressed on November the 18th, are they still the same?
No, ma'am.
Have they changed and why?
Yes, ma'am.
Why have they changed?
Response.
I'll rephrase the question. The statements that you wrote in regards to not feeling that the defendants were to blame, do you still stand by those statements?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
I think after the facts started coming out about the case, the questions of the bruising on them, things that we recollect that were red flags, as far as the bruising and the questions that we asked and the answers that we got back from Jennifer, just kind of did not add up.
And I want to ask you, I'm going to back up just a bit because I want to talk to you more about that. In regards to Peggy swatting or spanking Millie with a fly swatter, were you there when those incidents may have happened?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Did Millie have any bruises or injuries as a result of that swatting? with
No,
the
ma'am.
swat? Did she have any broken bones as a result of that?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see her swat at or hit Layla with a fly swatter?
No, ma'am.
And about how many times during the time that Millie and Layla were living with the Rosenbaums did they come over to your home at the time you were with Miss Peggy?
I think 2, maybe 3 times that they both came.
And I want to ask you, in regards to Peggy, she made what you felt were inappropriate statements in front of the children.
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Did you ever hear her tell the children to lie?
Excuse me?
Did you ever hear her tell the children to lie?
No, ma'am.
Was it grown-up conversation that she was having in front of a 4-year-old that you had an issue with?
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to Layla, you said they came over 2 or 3 times together.
Mm-hmm.
What about Millie? How many times did she come over during that time?
Several times. And the reason why Layla didn't come over as often is, number 1, I was working and couldn't help her. And then number 2, there was always a reason with Jennifer that she was sick, that she was napping, that she was being punished and couldn't come to the visit. So there was always excuses towards the end of why Layla couldn't come.
Now, I want to talk to you about the communication that you had with the defendant, Jennifer Rosenbaum. When did you start having communications with her? Was that all through Facebook messaging?
Yes, ma'am. It was probably, we touched base now and then for probably August to maybe the end of October.
At any point did you could talk about the girls and how they were doing?
Mm-hmm.
And what things they were involved in or not involved in?
Mm-hmm.
At any point in August, do you recall her messaging you, letting you know that Layla was in the hospital and had to get an IV?
No, ma'am.
So she didn't send you any information about that?
No, ma'am.
In November, did she send you any message about Layla having to go to the hospital at all?
No.
But at some point, you learned that Layla broke her leg.
Yes.
Was that through a message on Facebook with the defendant?
I believe so. I believe she sent me the picture with her in the cast. And when I asked what happened, she said that she hurt herself at gymnastics.
Prior to receiving that picture, in regards to her hurting her leg in gymnastics, were you aware of Layla being in gymnastics?
Not Layla. I knew Millie was.
And did you ever receive pictures of Millie in her gymnastics outfit or at gymnastics?
Yes, she sent me a couple.
Did you ever receive any of Layla?
No.
And how soon in time was it that you got the message about Layla breaking her leg from the defendant in comparison to the Noah's Ark party?
I don't remember, and I don't remember that, I don't know what the timeline was when she broke her leg. I know that the party was on October 17th, so I'm not sure when she broke her leg.
Was her leg broken at the party on October the 17th?
You know what, I don't know, because she had that Olaf costume on that covered everything except her face. But I know that she wasn't walking around. She was being held and passed from person to person. But I don't recall when I was holding her that I felt the cast on her.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as case exhibit 152 and already entered into evidence. Is this you? It's behind you. Is this you with Layla at that party?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you able to see that date up there?
October 17th.
And you said, did you see Layla walking around at that party?
No, ma'am, not at all.
How was she being transported during the time that she was there?
She was at the party. She was being held, just passed from person to person, and then after that, when they were had changed clothes and were going to go around to the, see the animals and check out the festival, she was put in a wagon and pulled.
At that time, did Jennifer or Joseph mention her having issues with her leg or favoring her leg?
No, not at all.
Did they mention anything about her falling down a hole while she was at your house and Peggy's house?
No, ma'am.
In fact, the last time Layla was at your house was in September or August or September?
It had to be in the summer because we went to the splash pad.
So when you saw her in October the 17th, it had been several months since she had been at Peggy's home.
Several, yes.
It was
Yes.
October and August. It had been August or September.
Yes, I would say August. I think we had her in July and then in August.
And no one ever mentioned anything about her falling in a hole at
No,
Peggy's
no.
house. Now let me ask you about Peggy's house. Is there a backyard?
Not really what you call a backyard, maybe a back patio. It's got pavers. It's probably as big as this little section right here. It's very small.
How do you get access to that backyard?
Usually there's a door, an interior door that leads out there. It was actually through my bedroom. We never went out there because the way I had my room set up, my bed was blocking the door. So to get out there, you would have to totally move my bed and my dresser and things to be able to open the door. However, you could get to it from the outside, but it's like a row of condos, and you would have to go outside and go all the way around the other condos to get back to hers.
Now, when the girls would come over to visit, did they ever spend time in the backyard?
No.
What about the front yard?
Very rarely, because we were not wanting the HOA to know that they were there.
And you lived there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there holes in the front yard or in the flower bed?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever observe the girls? Let me ask you, when the girls were outside, would you just let them run outside and be out there by themselves?
No, they were never out there by themselves. And the only time when they were out there, it usually was never in the grass. When we took them out, it was always to sidewalk, play, and we'd make hopscotch, or we would, draw rainbows on the sidewalk. And it was usually just on the very front porch.
And so would it be fair to say you never saw Layla fall in a hole while she was at
No,
Peggy's
ma'am.
house? I'm going to ask you were talking about those red flags in that hindsight 2020. What types of things after November the 18th came to your mind that seemed to be red flags to you?
There were several times in that Layla had bruises on her face that Peggy and I would ask about. There was one time that she had a black eye, just, all around her eye. We asked Jennifer, and she told us that Layla got in a fight at daycare, but it was okay because you should see the other kid, he looks worse.
At that point, were you aware or did you know anything about the girls going to daycare?
No, ma'am.
Did you later learn that they were not in daycare?
Yes.
Is that why it became a red flag?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was that you saw that black eye on Layla that the defendant claimed occurred at daycare?
That might have been like during the September visit.
Were there any other occasions where you noticed injuries or bruises on Millie or Layla?
There was another time that Layla had a bruise on her face. I believe it was on her cheek. We asked what happened, and Jennifer said she tripped and fell and hit her face on a toy.
And do you recall what time of year that was when that happened?
No, that might have been after, like, end of September, maybe. I can't recall.
If you don't know, I would ask that you say.
Yeah, I can't recall the date.
Okay. Was it before October the 17th?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it close in time to the black eye?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other injuries that you may have observed on Layla?
No, I don't recall.
You didn't call DFACS or the police when you saw those injuries?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Throughout my life, I've never been exposed to any kind of abuse, physical abuse. So abuse was not on my radar at all. So I believed what Jennifer told us.
So when she told you that it happened at daycare,
I
you
believed her. Yes, ma'am.
And when she told you that she fell on a toy, you believed her.
Yes, ma'am.
And the knowledge that you had of Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum, was that all based on what she told you
Yes.
and what you saw on Facebook?
Yes.
These injuries that you thought back to, is that when you called Detective Thompson to report the things that you were starting to recall?
I believe so.
Now, Ms. Mull asked you about an injury on Layla's face during the birthday party on October the 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever get any pictures or take any pictures of Layla at the birthday party?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever receive any pictures during that birthday party?
I think Jennifer sent me a few.
And at some point in time, did you go back and look at those pictures again?
Yes, ma'am.
Why'd you go back and look at them?
Just to recollect the event, and then afterwards, when all the facts started coming in, we went just back and looked at them, had them enlarged, and just were able to see that she had bruises on her face that we didn't notice because of the Olaf costume.
And I'm going to show you this been marked as State's Exhibit 152. If I can get the lights, please. Is State's Exhibit 152 one of the photographs that you went back to review?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall, is this one of the pictures you took or one of the pictures that you received?
I took that one, I
And-
believe.
And can you just point, and there's a stick in front of you, a blue stick. What area of Layla's face did you notice bruising when you went back and looked?
Right here, she's got a bruise, and right there, and then up around her forehead. She had a bruise.
Did you notice anything about the defendant, Jennifer Rosenbaum, who's also depicted in that picture?
Yeah, she had like cuts and bruises on her knuckles, which we noticed. And another thing I noticed is that Layla was 2.5 years old and she could eat her own cupcake. I noticed, why was Jennifer feeding her the cupcake when a 2.5-year-old could eat her own cupcake?
The lights can come back up. Let me ask you, Ms. Smith, have you altered or doctored this photograph in any way?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Do you even know how to do anything? with
No.
that? Besides, at that time, I think you mentioned to Ms. Mull that you noticed something about Layla and her feeling light. Tell us about that.
Yes, ma'am. When I had her, the last time I had seen her was when we went to the splash pad. And she was chunky, like a toddler would be. And when I picked her up at Noah's Ark that day, I noticed her being considerably lighter. And I even made a comment, kind of jokingly, because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, she's losing that toddler weight, being more active. And I even made a comment to Jennifer, like, oh my goodness, y'all need to feed her another cupcake.
Who'd you make that statement to?
To Jennifer. And she didn't respond. She just kind of smiled and gave that kind of nervous laugh. And then I didn't say anything further.
Let me ask you, you said something about Layla being able to feed herself. When she was over you and Peggy's home, did anyone have to feed her food?
No.
Was she able to pick up a fork and use it to feed herself?
Or she'd eat it with her fingers.
And you observed Millie that day as well, October the 17th. And I think you mentioned to the police that she appeared to be acting robotic.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Millie's usually a typical 3 or 4 year old. She's just bouncing from one person to the other and playful. She was very or almost too well behaved for that child of that age. I mean, just too well behaved. She would be very, very careful about who she sat with, who she talked to, how she would be very careful when she got up to eat the cake, open presents. And we asked her, and she said, I can't mess up my dress. I can't get any wrinkles on it.
Did she tell you who told her that?
Miss Jennifer.
When Layla and Millie would be at your and Peggy's home, did you ever see them acting rambunctious or rough and tumble?
Somewhat, but not over the top.
Did they ever have any serious injuries as a result of playing with one another and being rumble and
No,
tumble?
no.
Ever have any broken bones?
Oh, no.
Ashley, when you made your statement to Detective Thompson, December the 7th of 2015, did you know that Millie had a broken arm?
No.
When did you learn that Millie had a broken arm?
Just now.
On October the 17th, you said Millie was acting robotic. Was she able to use her arms, use her hands to open her gifts and stuff like
Yes.
that? Okay. What about Layla? Was she acting unable to use her hands? I know you said she was being transported by hand to hand in a wagon. What about using her hands and that type of thing?
Not that I noticed, but I just noticed when she used her hands when she was clutching like my shirt, and it was a death grip. And then she used her arms when she reached back out.
And that was unusual behavior for Layla.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess hindsight is 20/20. You feel differently about how she was behaving.
Yes, ma'am.
On November the 17th, did you go to the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Were you made aware of Layla's death?
On the morning of the 18th.
On the morning of the 18th. And who told you about her death?
My sister Peggy had gotten a call from Tessa, and I walked out of my room and she was on the phone with Tessa.
And at any point, did you have any contact with the defendants after Layla's death?
Yes, after we went to the police station, which Tessa asked us to meet her there, and then we talked with Detective Thompson. My sister and I went straight to the DFACS office because we wanted to find out where Layla was and what was going on. And as soon as we got to the DFACS office, we were inside, and Joseph and Layla walked out from the back. Joseph and Jennifer walked out from the back.
What did you do when they walked out from the back?
We kind of got up and went over to like console them. We believed that they just had spent a night of terror, terror of losing a child in their care.
At that point, did you know anything about the bruises that Layla sustained?
No, we just thought that she had choked on a piece of chicken and didn't make it.
Did you know anything about her broken arm?
No,
Or her
nothing,
broken rib?
nothing.
Nothing further to say.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Read your record.
When you were at Noah's Ark, did you stay the whole time?
Actually, I worked there at the time.
You went back to work?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't stay with Layla?
No, I was back and forth the whole time.
You didn't go with them through the rides, did you?
No,
And so if she was walking around, you wouldn't have been able to see her, would you?
no, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 140 and ask you to identify that.
That is a picture of Layla in the wagon that they had put her in. I don't know who the middle child is, but the back is Millie, excuse me.
And does it say free rides on it?
Mm-hmm.
So was this wagon belonging to Jennifer?
I believe it belonged to Noah's Ark.
Who was pulling the wagon?
I don't know.
You don't know the person who was pulling it?
Mm.
I will tender into the record Defendant's Exhibit 140.
Any objection? It's admitted.
Just get the lights. Thank you. The wagon was being used to give rides to other children, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. You can step down.
Thank you. Am I excused?
Yes. Unless there's no objection.
Okay.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. Let's take an hour and 15 minutes. Come back at, what is that, 1:45? 1:45, thank you. We'll see you then.